Hello, hello, hello. This is Attorney Mike Gravel coming to you from Chicago. As usual, it looks like we're warming up to get started here. There's movement in the courtroom, so let's do it. I don't know where that is. I gotta find that tab. Oh. You know, we can always squeeze in a throuple.
Oh, sweet Jesus! What?
Right. See, I'm going to use Miss Fowler's word. She now is in a throuple. And not only does she choose to be in a throuple, and she's shacked up in the bed with the throuple. Now, if anybody thinks this is okay, I am in the wrong world.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm assuming that's a yes. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, nada. Good afternoon. This is Swinger Judge. So I forgot about Swinger Judge. That was good times. That was good times. I think that was out in Kansas.
Now, you didn't say the cat jumped on his wiener, did you?
Yeah, without getting into further detail, there were drugs involved that people were giving to me that ended up being glue. Like I smoked some glue and stuff. I thought I was smoking crack, and
Okay, by popular demand. I don't know. I guess everyone's on New Mexico time here, including John. Might have had too many at lunch. It's time for some lawful law here. Oh. All right. We'll kick in when they do. Oh, happy birthday, Pink Candy. I, I'm kind of thinking that they're going to rest here. I had John catch me up a little bit on it. It sounds like they're not going anywhere. And I'm hoping the prosecution rests their case, and I'll be interested to see if the judge grants a motion for acquittal. See if I can put one of those together. Big laser deal. I'm all good. I'm feeling frisky. I'm ready to go. Sabs, I stopped in for just a minute. I was running all over the place yesterday, and I also talked to John after. They apparently the prosecution didn't get anywhere with it. We find out that there were 2 magazines. They don't know which one was in the gun. It doesn't sound good. You and me both, Mary. I saw you yesterday busting on my suit. I didn't like it any better than you. Oh, for those of you who didn't see the stream from last night with Biggin, it was good times. It was good times. It really was. And Deborah stopped in to say hi. I mean, we couldn't hear her, but you know, she was there. That might be beyond my technical capabilities here. I don't, you know, I think you got to remember who you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Aw, thanks, Kristen. I mean, I took a shower today, so there's that. It's about as good as it's going to get. Not quite that frisky, Craig. I don't know. I've been pretty frisky, but I've never been that frisky. Never once in my life. Oh. Well, they just got me all excited. I mean, if you're starting this thing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, their time, I guess 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon here, you'd think you'd get going, conduct your business, and get everybody out on a Friday. I do smell fresh. There's no two ways about it. Make that a point.
Mm, okay, I'm assuming that's a yes. Okay.
Ah. Crazy trial today. Are you referring to this? I don't know. This just looks like it's going to end with a whimper here. But I am interested. I'm still waiting. I haven't seen it yet. I'm still waiting for the prosecution to just come blow us away with some grand, moment. It's possible. Well, welcome aboard, Christy. It's very exciting, isn't it? you throw a live for a trial, and the trial doesn't happen. But who did show up on time, ready to go? The chat, just rocking as always. So it really doesn't matter. Ah. All right, fine. Be that way. We'll have
I'm going to use Miss Fowler's word. She now is in a throuple. And not only does she choose to be in a throuple, and she's shacked up in the bed with the throuple. Now, if anybody thinks this is okay, I am in the wrong world.
Okay, so as soon as Dawn is able, she will put you in a breakout room. It looks like she's able in doing so.
It's always the tricky part.
It is.
All right, tell me when
And then
things
getting
start
them
happening
back
over
is a
there.
little bit tricky too.
Agreed.
Let's spend some quality time
You're
with our
not
buddy
there to,
Judge Webster.
do it for them. So okay.
Both went great. Thanks for asking, Nigel. Oh, Judge Webster, I can't believe you did that to me. Rude. Unbelievable. He sure did. He sure did. I looked, Iris. That was the first thing I looked for. Great minds think alike. What could really help us out here is a pre-trial.
Half of the plaintiffs?
No tenants.
No tenant. Eric Adams. We only have service by posting. I have to turn this out November 15th, 2022, 11 a.m.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mark One Investments LLC versus Marvin V. Redmond II, I think it is.
Yes. Deborah Miller on behalf of plaintiff.
No tenants.
No tenant and service by posting. November 15th, 2022, 11 a.m.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Hines of Clover Lane versus Jeffrey Klein.
Good afternoon again, Judge Jen Wilburn for the plaintiff.
Hello, Your Honor. This is Jeffrey Klein.
All right. And how much is owing on this?
Judge, right now we are showing rent of $5,597.75. Court costs of $163.04 for a total of $5,760.79.
All right. And sir, how do you intend to pay that? Or are you disputing that?
Your Honor, so I had already intended on paying it. I had went to the management office on a number of occasions to attempt to hand payment over, and was informed that I would not be allowed to make partial payments and it had to be in full. So that would just put me behind every month because of late fees and court fees, et cetera, et cetera.
So, all right. All right. I don't know why they do the partial payment thing, but that's in the past. Do you have the 5,700?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
Okay. So how is this going to be paid? I
So
guess I'm asking.
my intent was to just move out
Congratulations,
at the end of the month. I've already found somewhere else that I can move into temporarily.
Ms. Siebert.
If may I have just a moment? The reason that this happened in the first place is because from the end of June until September 14th, I was without proper HVAC and air conditioning in the dead of summer. So I withheld 2 months rent until I could get that squared away. I had no communication from the management office about when and how this was going to be fixed.
Okay, I'm assuming that's a yes. Okay.
It would be 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, so on and so forth. So I have email correspondence that it was finally taken care of on the 13th of September. And by that time, I had gone to the hospital with a broken limb and had to pay those fees because I don't have insurance. I had talked to the management office and told them my intent to pay
What's up, brother?
either partially, in which I was told
How are you,
I
sir?
cannot. And
Waiting
I was
because
honest,
we're
I said, I
late
don't
again?
have this currently.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
They're taking their time.
What day would you be
All right.
moving?
I can move out by the 3rd of December at the latest.
It actually worked out
Well,
well.
that's not going to work
I had some stuff
because
this morning.
I'm now, that's 30 days from now. And you're not intending upon paying any rent while you reside there and you're
Yeah,
already
if anyone ever guessed, I am in fact a lawyer.
So I could, if we were able to get onto a payment plan of some sort, which was always my intent, I could have already been paying this. But since they would not allow me to do that at all, and nor, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I know. When I'm sitting here, people don't think I hear them. I hear you. So the question becomes, if you want to that time, how are you going to pay for even the 30-day period in time that you're asking the court for?
I could pay that within like 3 weeks.
Okay, all right. Maybe you're not getting this. What could you pay the landlord right now to negotiate
handsome
the
John.
move-out date?
Thank you
Because
very
as
much.
of right now,
Not bad for a ginger.
the move-out date for you
Ah,
would be
fuck you.
Monday the 14th.
Sorry
The
for the
14th.
language.
We haven't even gotten started yet, John. Come on.
Okay, sorry.
But,
just checking.
yeah, occasionally I actually can clean up for court.
So that 14th was, I should have had a question mark after it, because I'm asking you.
Okay. They're starting over there. They're starting. We're getting to the main event here.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do this thing.
This has got to be the prosecution's last witness. They wouldn't have done a half day if they weren't going to arrest at this point, right?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Can you
But they don't
please
have a case yet. That's the
state
problem.
and spell
Oh,
your
there's
name,
that.
please?
Frank Tomlinson, FrankTomlinson.
And where do you work, sir?
Sandoval County Sheriff's Office.
What is your position at the Sandoval County Sheriff's Department?
Currently, I'm a lieutenant over
Look at all
our
the
criminal
John love.
investigations, our civil division, animal
You're
control,
giving all the money to him.
SROs, school resource
Why don't
officers,
you bring it to me?
and hopefully soon chaplains.
Okay. And what was your assignment, sir, in 2020?
In 2020, at that time, I believe I was assigned to just patrol.
Okay. And
Hang on.
are you a full-time sworn salaried and commissioned
Try
police
to
officer?
turn this
Yes,
up
I am.
because I can't hear anything.
How long have you been with the Sandoval County Sheriff's Office?
Everyone's asking. I literally
since
ran from the Uber
2016,
to get up here
so
to get onto this stream.
8
So
years.
I'm
Okay.
not
And,
changing at this point.
Prior to your time with the Sandoval County Sheriff's Department, where did you work previously? Have you worked in other law enforcement entities?
Yes. Previously, before coming to Sandoval County, I was with Corrales for about 8 or 10 years. Prior to that, I've worked for tribal agencies such as Sandia and Pueblo of Jemez. I originally was got my New Mexico certification in 1997.
Okay, so how long is your total time in law enforcement?
27, 26 years.
Okay. So as the you said you were a sergeant over field at the time in 2020?
No, I was a lieutenant over
The
patrol.
lieutenant over the field. What were your duties as the lieutenant?
At that time, I was basically just in charge of the patrol operations, supervising sergeants and patrol deputies, and everything that handles on a day-to-day basis. During the time of this incident, I was
Someone was
lieutenant
telling me
over
that there was
CID
an
entity,
echo.
I believe
I
was
hope
out
that
of
fixed
town,
it.
and I was filling in and taking over his responsibilities as far as on call.
Can you tell the jury what CID is?
Criminal Investigations Division.
Okay. So what kind of specialized training have you undergone, sir?
Currently, I have a command level certification through the state, which requires, I believe it's approximately 15 or 1,500 hours of advanced training in any different fields. Most of mine have been in investigations related,
If he
white collar,
pulls
violent
apart
crime, sexual assaults,
in the same way
and so
as
forth. Crime scene
the other
processing.
state police officer, I'm giving New
You
Mexico
have
back to
another
Mexico,
position that you also
and we'll just call
employ
it
as
a
well?
day.
Up to a month ago, I was also employed by the Office of Medical Investigator.
And what was your position there?
I'm a field deputy medical investigator.
And what do you do in that capacity, sir?
So at the time when I was working, I would respond to scenes, conduct a field investigation, which included examination of the body, photographing, working with law enforcement, conducting medical related interviews, basically gathering all the information that I could for the doctors down at the main office in case they needed to perform any autopsies and such forth.
So you would be conducting an investigation alongside law enforcement as well?
Yes. It's the system's designed to basically parallel law enforcement, and the theory is that if we both come to the basic same conclusion as to why this person is deceased, then we got it right.
I don't know
How
what
long
the
did you
first
do that
conclusion
position
was.
for?
2014 is when I started, so 8 years.
Okay. And what kind of training did you undergo for that position?
When I first started, most of it's field. You take basically a 1 week training class. I put myself through different online classes, through different.
Oh, good Lord.
Areas,
Self-directed online
statewide
courses. This is
on different aspects of death investigation. Plus, I also took death investigation classes.
That's what
for
I
my
do with
full-time job at the
CLEs
sheriff's
in
office.
areas of
And
law that I
did
have
you
no
take classes
expertise
on
whatsoever in.
collecting evidence?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Throughout the years, covers photography, covers collection of samples, both medically and with the sheriff's department, also
finger
for
painting
evidence purposes. How to process a body, how to process a scene. It's too broad, really. To
Do you get
too
an
specific.
extra sketch?
Okay. So as a law enforcement officer and not in your position as an OMI investigator, how many major crime scene investigations have you been the lead on?
I would say lead probably 20 or more.
Okay. And how many times have you had to testify in court based on those investigations in which you were the lead on?
Maybe 5 or 6.
Oh my God.
How many crime scene or major crime scene investigations have you assisted on as a law enforcement officer?
Probably over 50.
and so it begins.
And that includes from, controlling traffic control at the scene to being number 2.
All right, controlling traffic control at the scene
Okay.
is literally sitting there with a flashlight.
So is Sandoval County Sheriff's Office a large law enforcement entity?
I would define it more as a medium. We have, I believe we're budgeted for 60 sworn. I could be wrong about the exact number, but it's approximately there. We run, normally our staffing runs anywhere between 50 and 60 at any given time.
What is a sworn?
There's either they're certified officers or in training and going to be certified officers.
Okay. And in 2020,
Simple,
was
but
the
I like
numbers
it.
the same, or were they higher or lower?
I can't be exact, but I believe they were closer to
Nobody could be exact.
55
Jesus.
versus 60. I know we got an increase in deputies over the past 2 years.
Okay, so can you tell the jury roughly how
Thank
many
you.
deputies there are on every shift?
In 2020, there was for the entire
Absolutely.
county, it averaged, we had a minimum
And
staffing
by the
of
way,
4.
Cole actually did some
And
research.
normally, so
I
we're
guess
going
either
between
last
4
night
and
or
6
this
on
morning.
a shift at a time.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, and how many violent crime detectives did you have in 2020?
So in 2020,
You have a data
we
scientist
didn't
who's a
really have
better
violent crime
freaking legal
detective per
researcher
se.
than the
We
lawyers
had
on
a
the
detective
prosecution.
Sergeant Griffin, and then we had
On
2 other
YouTube.
detectives, and they would just switch off on who would take what case, whatever came up. It was more of an on-call type situation.
Okay, so they rotated based on on-call shifts.
Yes,
Where is your main office at?
right downstairs. So in this building, it's right downstairs on the north side.
Are there any substations?
We don't have substations per se. We're allowed, like in Jemez, we can use their facility if we need to. In Cuba, we can use their facility sometimes, for paperwork, bathroom processing, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so what areas does the Sandoval County Sheriff's Office cover?
It's one of the largest geographic areas in the state that we're required to cover. We go approximately to Counselors, which is about 100 miles from here, up 550 past
I'm
Cuba.
generally pointing out that a
All the way
literal
through
non-attorney
Jemez,
did a better
to the border
research
of Los
job
Alamos,
than these
to
idiots.
Cochiti Lake, and Highway 22, Highway 16. We also go to the East
Overnight.
Mountain off of Highway 14. We have areas up there, La Madera. And then, of course, we do cover a large portion of Navajo Nation out around the area of Torreon. San Luis, we go all the way through Rio Rancho up until the borders with Albuquerque, and part of Pueblo Sandia is also included.
And Cuba as well? I know I have
Yes.
places there as well.
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell the jury about the CAD system, so the computer aided dispatch in 2020?
In the CAD system, which is computer aided dispatch, it's the same system that we have today. The difference was in 2020, we didn't have it in our vehicles. So we didn't have computers in our vehicles, as you see a lot on cops and so forth, TV shows. We couldn't pull up someone's picture. We couldn't do anything. We didn't have a computer in our vehicle.
I
The
find that
CAD
easy to
system
believe
itself at
from what I've
dispatch
seen
was
so
still
far.
the same CAD system.
Yeah.
So they would dispatch calls, take notes, put information in the calls for service, but we just didn't have real-time access. They would have to provide that information over the radio.
So can you tell the jury someone would call in and then someone on the other line would type up a log? Is that how you would call it?
A log's a fair assessment.
And then more information would come in and they would add it to that log
Correct.
for the call.
For the call.
Okay, so how would a deputy get information?
So a deputy, if it was something simple and quick, he would use the radio, and we would just process, they would just communicate with dispatch or other units that way. If it was going to be a long, drawn-out conversation, so only one deputy can talk on the radio at a time. So to avoid, for safety reasons, another deputy needing to be on the radio for emergency, and he couldn't. If they had cell service, they would call in via telephone to dispatch, but that wasn't necessarily.
That's not how any of anything works.
So it bounced between the two depending on the situation.
Telephone requires
So
a
was this,
wired
real
connection
time that
between.
this log was being
Oh my God.
created, or is there any sort of delay, or can you tell the jury about that?
So when they're getting the information, it's not like it's voice activated and it reads the transmission. A dispatcher actually has to type in whatever information and phrases and use their own, I guess, shorthand, sometimes in a way. So there's an accountability for like misspellings and stuff because they're listening to different avenues of information and trying to put this all in the log. So they could be processing 2 or 3 different conversations at the same time.
So you testify that Sandia County is a large area of land that you guys have to
I don't know
cover
how the fuck
for
you
your,
do
for
this
your age.
after
Sorry.
That's
3 depositions in a
And
day.
this has a lot of different geographical features, mountains.
She doesn't know the
hills.
county
Yes.
How does that affect your
name
radio
that they're in.
Oh, absolutely horrible.
Which is her county. She's the
It can be
prosecutor.
so bad at times, deputies can go to certain areas. We call them the dead spots.
God, all right.
And if they have to do anything in that area, they have no communication with dispatch or anyone via cell phone or radio. As
You don't know your own
to
jurisdiction.
Jemez, through the mountains, you
Good.
get up there. There's no way to contact people.
Top tier prosecution.
So they would have to do law enforcement jobs without any request for backup, without any information. So and these spots are not like just in the mountains. They can be in hilly places, distance, everything. So we have our dead spots that we've identified.
Does this happen in other cases or just this one?
Oh, it happens daily. Whether it's a call for service or whether it's a major crime investigation,
we fuck up every investigation.
Okay, what kind of funding does the Sandoval County Sheriff's Office get?
Oh my God.
To my knowledge, I'm not really involved too much in the budget issue at my rank. We get most
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Okay, I'll move on. Let's talk about the body camera issue. Okay.
Sure.
So in 2020, did every deputy have a camera?
If one was available.
Okay, tell us about that.
So in 2020, we were using.
This is the prosecution, by the way.
Digital Ally. It's a body camera system. We only had so many. They were common to break down. So we tried to keep our deputies in working ones as we could. And then if one would break, our budget might not allow for them to be repaired.
So what is your argument? Because we don't have a budget. Our budget sucks. Our police suck.
We wouldn't replace
so
them.
Send this guy to prison.
We tried to supplement with
we fucked up the investigation.
Digital cassette tape recorders that we would belt tapes, if you'd call them, just to try to give the deputies every opportunity to record their interactions.
Did deputies sometimes have to purchase their own, or did they have that option?
The deputies did have the option to purchase and use their own belt tapes, their own. At that time, the cameras were becoming a little bit more affordable.
So because we're cheap we're too cheap to actually.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about
do an investigation.
How did that work?
So a belt tape's a digital recorder. My use of them is normally if I'm doing field investigations.
Screw that.
I'm conducting an interview, I will run that tape to record the interaction. Deputies in the field, if they didn't have a lapel cam and they did have a digital recorder, they would keep it on their belt. And when they came into contact with an individual, they would turn it on.
Good job.
It only
That's
captures
absolutely great.
audio.
100%.
Of course, it would capture more of what the deputy was saying because it's right here. It's either in the pocket, on the belt, it's with their person, versus talking like to Miss Walker.
What was actual role at the scene?
Clear, but
I haven't heard that yet.
Okay, so let's talk about the date of this incident, February 29th, 2020. Were you on duty that day?
Actually, I believe I was at home. It was after 5 o'clock, and I received the call.
Okay, so what was your role in this
All right,
investigation?
I gotta go change.
It started as a lieutenant. It started out as just being able to call out personnel and resources to assist with this investigation. So I contacted Sergeant Griffin. I believe he was also off. Advised him to start his detectives and to handle the scene and call me if he needed me.
So initially then was your role in the investigation more as supervisory because you were in the chain of command to be called?
In the in the initial part.
Yes. And then what eventually became your role?
Eventually became my role due to personnel that I was going to be
Yeah, that polar bottle had better be
sparkling water. Yeah.
Proceed to the scene because there was no availability of anyone else.
It's not going to get better.
How many homicide investigations does the Sandoval County Sheriff's Office do in a typical year?
Who gives a fuck?
Typically now, it's very spotty.
Sorry, I'm just.
It's not necessarily homicides that occur in the county. We also attribute it to if someone, for lack of a better term, leaves a body in the county. We also count that.
By the way,
homicide investigation, and we'll do maybe an average of 4 or 5. It's just every year is different.
Sorry,
Okay,
you
how
called
many
me
did you do
after
in 2020?
In
a
2020,
particularly
for
difficult
the
meeting,
department,
so I'm already
Yes,
a
for the
little bit
Sandoval County
frustrated.
Sheriff's Office.
That's a fair question here.
I believe we did 4 or 5, counting this one.
Okay. So in this case, you were called to help because you're in the chain of command. Tell us what happened.
At that time, I made the determination that Sergeant Griffin would proceed to the scene, handle the crime scene, and I would remain at being maybe a command post is what you'd call it, which is me in my office, to arrange any logistical help, contact state police for a crime scene if necessary, prepare any warrants that we needed exigency on for like the residents and the property that they were going to, communicate with the district attorney, basically just have a place have a place where I had good internet, good cell phone service, and I could make phone calls because they didn't.
This
Okay,
guy's
so
just
let's start
frustrating
at the
hell out of
beginning.
me.
The call comes out. What time was the call received by dispatch?
Can I refer to the CAD just for accuracy's sake?
Okay. If the CAD will refresh your memory.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fish. Okay, this guy's just frustrating me.
I'm going to lead you by no objection by the defense.
Okay.
So, sir, did the call come into dispatch at about 1731?
Yes.
How is the accuracy of the times on that?
It can be plus or minus minutes because, again, they're logging this in manually. So it could take a minute or two for them to actually.
If that's true, that's
information,
it's
depending on how they're
irrelevant,
busy.
But
Okay. And the calling party was Mr. McCullough?
I believe so, yes.
What time did the call from the Bureau of Indian Affairs come in?
I believe the
Please
original
ask
call
when the sun went
was at 5:43 p.m., but it was not logged until 5:49.
Okay. And who made that call?
It was reported by BAA to be a gentleman named Dean Cummings.
Okay. And so the time difference from the call for Mr. McCullough and the call for Mr. Cummings was about 12 minutes?
Approximately.
And Your Honor, at this time, the state would request to publish Exhibit 2, which is the 911 call made from the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
No objection.
Go ahead, Constable. You publish it.
how in any God's name is this improving their case?
I have no idea what they're doing here. I mean, a little bit of foundation, sure.
Are you playing it off your
But they started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
We haven't gotten anywhere. We finally got to the call. Okay.
I presume they have maybe this witness and maybe one other. Why are you bringing a fact witness in after your experts? I just nothing about how they've structured this case makes any sense to me.
Oh, computer logistics.
Might have been a scheduling issue, but the experts are like, well, the one expert was a real expert.
Oh, the DNA? Yeah, that's true. But it didn't help them because they didn't spot stuff that would actually be relevant.
Hi, I have a call for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I have a male individual, first name of Dean.
Okay,
Cummings.
do you have a call for me though?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you go with the address first?
Yes, it's going to be 4 miles in on Cabazon Peak.
Okay.
Oh yeah, John's gonna go full law talk with Mike here.
Okay, and what have you got?
I have a male individual, Dean Cummings. Phone number 907-831-6512.
Okay.
He said that he was attacked by a male individual, a Guillaume, only first name given.
Can you spell that for me?
First name George, Edward, Ocean, Mary, Edward.
Thank you, Vanguard.
Okay.
He said that he was attacked by this male individual. He tried to defend himself, got a hold of his weapon. He had a gun. He did shoot the individual. He said that the individual is dead.
Okay, we do have a call up already. Let me make sure that these aren't correlating. When did he call you?
He called me at 17:43.
And give me the location once more.
Okay, he told me 4 miles in on the Cabazon Peak Monument Trail, the BLM Monument Trail. It's gonna be a ranch house, like a ranch. Trailer. There are 2 trailers there. One's a Hallmark trailer, and then there's 2
That's
gates.
really praying that you're wrong.
Hallmark?
But I
Yeah.
don't disbelieve you.
Ooh, interesting.
And it should be right near the gate.
Yeah, he said it's gonna be. There should be 2 gates there.
I guess in 3 more days. Okay.
What was the name of that trail again?
The Cabazon Peak Trail or Monument Trail access. He said it's a BLM Monument Trail access towards the volcano.
I don't know if I have 3 more days of this in me.
Okay, what was your name again?
Andrea.
Did you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
So that call was relayed to Sandoval County Dispatch about 20 minutes after Mr. McCullough's call.
I believe so.
Okay. Tell us how messages between you at the command post here at Sandoval County Sheriff's Office and the people on scene, how were they relayed back and forth?
That was an adventure. Because there was no cell phone service and very limited radio traffic, and I was in my office, I would have to telephone dispatch, have them get on the radio to reach a unit at the scene to drive to an area to give me a call, and back and forth. We couldn't tie up any of the main lines on the radio because local wouldn't reach me here in Albuquerque, so we had to do it via telephone like that. I probably did that. I mean, on CAD, it's documented, I believe, 6 times that I called in, had them call someone, go to some place, call me, and then they would have to go back to the scene, do whatever I needed them to do, and then come back to the area, call me back again. So it took a long time. Every once in a while, if I needed something, I would try a deputy that might have still be at the cell phone location. And so not all the times I did this was related to CAD. It wouldn't go through dispatch. And I can't tell you how many times I tried that.
Okay, so what sheriff's deputies responded to the scene?
Initially at the scene, it was Deputy.
Yep. Good question,
Nothing.
Pink Candy.
Nothing at all.
Walker?
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm only objecting because it's cumulative.
All that it's proving is the difficulty or ineptitude of the investigation.
Continue on. Thank you, sir.
So Deputy Walker responded to the ranch,
Yes. And
Deputy Honey Estua,
yes.
and Sergeant Crispin.
Yes, that was the initial response.
And on February 29th, you never went to the ranch.
No, I did not.
Okay. You said that you stayed back at the office and ran background checks and handled the logistics, right?
Correct.
Were you able, as part of that, to determine what Mr. Cummings' height and weight was?
Via his driver's license information, because I'd never seen him. That's what I received my information off of.
Okay, and was he about 5'11" and 165 pounds?
According to his driver's license.
Okay. Now, Mr. Cummings was eventually transported back to the Sandoval County Sheriff's Office, right?
Yes.
And what time was that at? About 10 p.m.?
About, yes.
Okay. And did Mr. Cummings consent to having his DNA swabs taken and swabs of his face and hands?
Yes.
Can you describe to the jury how DNA swabs are taken from somebody?
For a DNA sample, he's provided usually two sealed Q-tips. He takes it and swirls it around in his mouth for about 30 to 45 seconds. Then it's placed in a small envelope once it's dried, which doesn't take very long, and then in the larger envelope, and then that's all sealed up to collect any other samples.
And then obviously you probably use personal protective gear, gloves, things like that.
Gloves, and I would just hand him the Q-tip. I wouldn't even do it. You hand it and they do it themselves.
Okay. Who assisted Mr. Cummings with doing these swabs?
I did.
Okay. And did you also swab his hands and face?
Yes.
Can you tell us how you did that?
I had a bottle of water similar to this. This is all we had available. And I would take the swab and get it in the water to where it was damp. And I wiped each side of his face and his hands. I believe it was the top and the palms, as I recall.
So and this was a new bottle of water?
Yes, it was sealed.
Okay. Can you show the jury on your own face where you swabbed Mr. Cummings?
If my normal procedure would be to swab each side, maybe in the forehead, and then the hands, and then the top.
So you did the palms of both of his hands as well as the tops of his hands?
That would be how I normally do it. I can't recall exactly that day.
Nobody can recall freaking anything.
And where was this done at?
At the sheriff's office.
When you were swabbing Mr. Cummings or assisting him with swabbing himself, did he have any injuries that were visible to you?
No.
Okay. And then what happened to those swabs from Mr. Cummings' person?
They were sealed similar to the DNA standard in a small envelope, and then in a larger envelope, and they were sealed and then tagged in as evidence.
Okay. And was Mr. Cummings medically cleared at the hospital?
Yes.
Now, the portion of the investigation going on at the scene, what time did that wrap up?
The last CAD report shows
not guilty. I'm leaning hard.
To the office about 1:33, 1:35.
By the way, Jess, I got your DM. When they take a break, I'll get it converted.
PM.
Twitter
And
sucks when it
I
comes to
can't tell you if anybody
pictures.
was left at the scene after that, but according to CAD, that's the last person that left.
Okay. And who collected the evidence from the state police?
Sergeant Griffin.
And that would have been the rifle, the mace, the 11 spent cartridge casings, and the magazine from the stairs, right?
Yes, unless they come up with something.
Now, let's talk about how evidence is handled.
I don't see how it even
in your
gets to a jury.
agency. So when evidence is collected from a scene, what happens to it? Or at least in 2020. Let's talk about it then.
Sure. So the deputy would come to the station. They would prepare.
It would be a fantastic
at the time we were
associate.
using a
If you
system
give me a
called
ton of
UBS.
evidence.
Prepare that system. On that system, they would enter the stuff as evidence, safekeeping, found property, log it in, create a evidence report. Then they would print that, take it, and we have lockers in our evidence room that are two-way. So they would put it in one locker one way, shut the door, secure it, and then the evidence tech the next day would come in, open it up, and then process it and store it and confirm the image.
What happened to the guy that was saying that they processed the rifle in the van?
Each individual piece of evidence and item number.
Yes, it does. Well,
And-
I'm sorry.
Isn't that contradictory?
It doesn't give us a number. It has a place where we would track our own numbers.
Okay. So this is like a running ledger or report.
Correct.
Does it document who tags something in and what time they tag it in?
Yes.
All right. So would this have been the same process for the evidence Sergeant Griffin collected from the state police?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach? I'm handing you exhibit 30 that's already been admitted.
Chris, they did it like 6 times. That's an exaggeration, but at least 2 or 3.
Was this evidence collected during your investigation in this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, we need to approach.
KP, I know. It's abject nonsense. Nobody has any credibility on the state side. It's just
I don't even get the point of what they're finally doing all this so that he can, I guess, lay a foundation for some evidence.
yeah, but so what? Like, you keep saying that, and I get it. I know where you're coming from. You're thinking like a lawyer. Where is their mind going? I get it. At the same time, they're laying a foundation for what? What could possibly come from this?
Well, he's going to say he swabbed him for DNA and his DNA was on something, but like
No, we already had the DNA expert in. That was yesterday.
I don't get it.
That? So what are you going to do? You're going to argue your own dueling experts?
I don't get. Well, we'll see. Unless they come up with something else, I don't see how this case is here. You know. Do we cheat him in house? Said no. You gotta go.
No, but seriously, I mean this. This is actually important because they've already discredited one of their own experts, the medical examiner. Their DNA expert was clearly discredited because she did not decide to actually examine the scope that was damaged, allegedly, the barrel, allegedly, and the muzzle that was allegedly damaged during its struggle. Loki made a fantastic case of 12 or 13 brilliant examples of where they clearly tampered with the crime scene earlier today. And I recommend everyone go check that out if you're interested. I don't know how you could possibly survive this case if you're a prosecutor. I just don't know. I mean, they literally moved shell casings. It's obvious. There's a perfect example. It's item number 6 from, I guess it was 2 days ago, where the blood stain and the shell casing matched perfectly, and it was moved before they put the evidence down. It's a disaster.
Okay, sir. Let's talk about the body of Mr. Adiola. OMI collected the body from the scene, correct?
Helpful, but not enough.
Typically, tell us how a body is processed for evidence by OMI.
So a field investigator is going to go to the scene, photograph the entire area. They're going to photograph the body. They're going to photograph weapons or drugs or anything they find on scene.
Let me be more specific.
Oh,
Tell
sure.
us about how, like the hands are bagged and the fingernail clippings, and how is that kind of evidence collected from a decedent?
Gotcha.
Okay,
When
let me be
it's,
more
when
specific.
he's
How
preparing the
like
body for
is
transport,
not a good combination of
some
phrases.
deputies, depending on the nature of the decedent, will bag their hands. I cannot testify if his hands were bagged at this time, but that would be a normal procedure that I would do. He's then placed in a body bag and sealed with a tag, and then transport would take them down to OMI in Albuquerque.
Okay, and then at OMI in Albuquerque, do they then do the clippings, and what do they do with the body in Albuquerque?
So what I've witnessed,
That's actually
and
leading.
part of is normally, and I can't quote from their exact SOP because that's a different division at FERC, but they would, when it's time for autopsy, they would bring it in, do photos, clothe, they would unclothe them, go through the clothing, secure any items that were found in the clothing. Once the decedent was not wearing any clothes, they would do more photographs. Then they would do fingernail clippings and tag those.
Yes,
in.
Cole,
I
do
believe
it.
They do DNA at that time, and then they would proceed with the autopsy. I can't say if that's their SOP. I'm just going by what I've witnessed before.
Okay, so that's how they would have gotten Mr. Adiola's DNA standard.
I believe so.
Does somebody go pick up this evidence from OMI, or how does it get to your facility?
More times than not, they will send it to me via mail. Depending on, I have gone down there to actually pick up evidence from time to time, but for the most part, I've received in the mail.
And then how does it get to the lab?
I go through the big box. It usually comes in a big box or an envelope. I open that up, confirm all the items match the list, the packing list that they gave us. And then I process the evidence as if I had collected it as seen, inventory it on, at that time, UDS, create an evidence report, and then place it in the locker for evidence tech to process.
And that would be your evidence tech then just takes it to the lab and picks it up in the lab?
Yes.
Okay, and then it goes back into evidence.
Yes.
How are you, Ben?
He's gonna be like, why
As part of your investigation, did you determine who was the owner of the AR-15?
You can show him
Who
you.
was the owner?
Show him you. Yeah, you're on.
Now, on March 1st, did you also have contact with other witnesses? Did you do any follow-up interviews?
I'm sure I did. To my recollection, I mean, through this investigation, I can't say specifically March 1st, but through the investigation, I spoke with Mr. Cummings' dad via telephone.
Okay.
I've interviewed Miss Landers.
Okay.
I did on March 1st, I did do the death notification.
Okay.
And through the whole investigation, it's very difficult for me to remember that far
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Without recollection.
That's called
So you interviewed
preparation
Mr.
for
Landers on
trial.
March 2020?
Where did you
A
think
couple
you
of
were
days
coming
after.
today?
Yes.
Okay. And did you collect anything from Ms. Landers?
I believe I collected a real estate contract.
Okay. And then as case agent, do all of the different things you sent out for testing then subsequently come back to you?
Yes.
All of the reports?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever requested nitrate lab testing on an item of evidence?
I am so tired of their witnesses saying they don't remember things.
Okay. Have you ever requested ejection pattern testing on an item of evidence?
Not in a case that I've worked.
Does the state lab even do that?
I don't believe so.
And are you familiar with mace, sir?
Yes.
How many times have you yourself been sprayed with mace?
Over 10 times.
Mike, he might have
Is
something
it
up
one of
that's
the
echoing.
less than lethal
Otherwise,
weapons
it's long
by law
time.
enforcement?
I just don't know.
Yes. It's classified as a defensive deterrent, not a offensive.
Have you been present when mace has been deployed?
Yes.
On other persons or?
Yes.
Okay. How many times?
For total, well over 20.
In your 27 years or so?
Yes. Yes.
What does it smell like?
The easiest way I can explain is if anybody's tried to peel roasted chili at home and you sit there for an hour and your eyes swell up, it gets in your face and you can't breathe, multiply that by about 10. And
Can
then
I
that
take a nap for like 5 minutes while they do the same
from a pepper
rigmarole?
It closes your eyes, it swells
Yeah.
your eyes shut.
He's gonna analogize pepper
It's
spray
a very
to
debilitating
peppers.
feeling and
Yeah.
it's not a
Which,
good
in
feeling.
fairness, it
Thank
is the
you.
same
How long
active.
those
It is the
effects
same
last?
active ingredients.
From my experience only,
Yes, sir.
Objection relevance.
I'll let him, with respect to his experience only.
Oh my God! The defense actually woke up. That's
the times
interesting.
I've been sprayed,
They didn't do it early. They didn't do it yesterday.
it's lasted anywhere from an hour. As far as the real where I didn't feel I could go home safe, an hour to all day. You feel it for a few
An hour
days.
to all day. Great.
And in your experience, does this get on clothing, bed sheets, anything in the area?
Yes. It was very common for me to get told to change in the garage.
No.
Instances like that.
Okay.
Objection
Are
here.
you familiar with commercial mace that's sold to the public?
In a way.
No.
provided
All right, we
to
already have
family members,
speculation.
and suggested they get some for travel
Oh
and
God
safety.
Almighty.
Okay, and does it work typically the same way for defense?
Objection foundation.
I'm getting close, Mike.
Um,
I'm not there, but I'm getting close.
in your experience with commercial mace, does it sometimes contain a dye?
Yes.
Objection foundation.
That's the objection you decide to pull.
Why is that?
That's primarily to help law enforcement identify attackers, kind of like the bank bags that have the exploding dye packs. This is along those lines.
And in your experience, either you yourself being maced or other people being maced or you purchasing mace for family members like you stated, does an excess drip out of the can?
Yes, like you would a spray paint can or a hairspray. There's always some left on the nozzle or dripping down the side on your fingers.
Which again proves that it was deployed. That's the defense's argument. Why are you eliciting this? What?
I've handed you State's Exhibit 30. That was the can of mace that was previously admitted, sir. Can you please pull it out? And describe to the jury, is this the typical can of mace that you have purchased for family members or seen commercially sold in stores?
Yes.
Can you tell us what your observations are on that?
It's black. It's small. It looks around the nozzle and entryway like dirt. Like it's kind of crudded up a little bit. There's a kind of like a reddish orange tint to some of the substance around.
Okay.
To me, it looks old.
I've got no cocktails too. I'm working straight sparkling water here, and I think I made a poor decision today.
I think you might have made a mistake, Mike.
Does it appear that
It's the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Objection foundation.
Detective, let's move on. I only have a couple more questions. Have you ever tripped and fallen to the ground before?
Yes.
Have you seen other people trip and fall?
Yes.
Okay. Have you witnessed people fall? Or
Have you seen
when
people
you've seen
trip
other
and fall?
people fall, or you yourself
Yes.
have fallen? What is everyone's first reaction?
Not only through personal experience and witnessing, but also through OMI when you're trying to determine if a person fell, prior to death.
Is this
most people
literally their
react
testimony?
The direction that you're falling, the first thing you do is you brace yourself and you open your hands and you're just straight out, just trying to stop from falling.
Okay. And Lieutenant Tomlinson, have you had the occasion to see mace with red dye before?
Yes,
Does that one, Exhibit 30, look similar?
yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
What?
What?
What? You didn't prove anything with that statement. I mean, if you could argue that it wasn't necessarily blood, but mace that had what the okay. All right, I'm officially broken. I need a minute.
Oh, good Lord.
Lieutenant, how are you?
Good. Thank
Did the mace have dye in it or not?
It could.
No, that's not my question. Did the mace have dye in it or not?
I believe it did.
Is the echo
How do you know that?
from
Did you
one
spray
crime
it?
or
No, I did
something
not.
on your end?
Did you have it tested?
No, ma'am.
Are you speculating? You're guessing, right?
No, I'm going by experience and, previous knowledge. It looks to me like it was
Now,
a can of mace.
now your
that's
credibility
sold,
shot.
and that it has mace.
That
it
took
has
one
dye.
question.
What are you basing that on?
The redness around the tip of the. Can I show you?
Just the tip.
I don't need you to show me.
Okay.
In a murder trial,
Yes, ma'am.
did the mace have dye in it or not?
Nope.
I believe
We're in
it
a
did.
murder trial here.
I don't know that for sure because you
love
didn't
it.
bother to just spray it, right?
No, ma'am.
It took one sentence to break.
You couldn't
this
just
witness.
spray it to see if it had dye in it.
No, ma'am.
Holy.
And you didn't send it anywhere to be tested.
No, ma'am.
Okay, how about this? This wouldn't be too hard. How about just contact the manufacturer
Mhm.
and say, here's a picture of the mace cam that I have. Can you tell me whether or not this model can did you do that?
No, ma'am.
All right.
It's only a person's life on the line. Or justice for a decedent. Either way.
Yeah.
On February 2020, did you look at that mace canister?
I don't believe I did.
So
I mean, maybe through pictures. I probably did through pictures. I don't recall exactly.
I thought today would be
when was the
Love
first
it.
time that you looked at that mace can in person? Was it when trial started?
In fairness, you gave me the easy day.
Was it dark?
Well, if it's in evidence and you go
Probably.
and you open it to look at it, there's a record of that, right?
Yes.
Is it written on the envelope?
If the answer is no, I swear to Christ.
Oh, right. You do know your own procedure, right? Okay. It's not.
Yes,
it's
to
not on
read
there.
it.
It's not on there. She had a chance to look. She knows what she's talking about.
Oh my god, if the answer is no, holy shit.
And the dates are all, I believe, 2022.
Are any of them you?
I don't believe so.
So the answer is no.
I would have opened it with a text, so I can't say whether I did.
Oh my god, you destroyed another piece
So
of
if you
evidence.
open it with a tech, you don't have to put your name and the date on the envelope?
No, ma'am, she would,
Okay.
because I would return it to her to close it back up for me.
So what are the dates in 2022 that it was looked at?
So I have
Wowzers. Wowzers is right.
Of 2022.
4 of 20, which is probably when I sent it to the lab to get tested. 'cause I don't
Probably.
recognize the
That's
the initials.
evidence.
So that's
Probably
4/20
is
of 20,
exactly the standard of evidence.
2022.
Probably is standard of the chain of evidence, right, Mike? We went to law school.
I can't tell.
Probably went from one person to another.
October 31st. Was that you? Can you remember
It
that
could
far
be.
ago?
I believe it says it was defense that opened it.
It was the defense attorneys. And the one in April, you think was when it was sent to the lab.
I have no 4/20 of 20 is when I believe it was sent to the lab.
Yeah, the one in April.
420 would
And
be
then there's
April,
one,
you
from
idiot.
DPS from 1/27 of 21.
And that can't be you because you're not DPS.
Correct.
So based on the dates that you've just read, none of those could possibly have been you.
Correct.
All right.
Hey, if you ever want to drink, come join me. I might need one after this.
Now,
I'll be at the Anchor Bar on Davis Island.
It's my understanding that you were in the presence of Mr. Cummings for approximately 6 hours on or about the 29th and the 1st.
Yes.
And did you run a lapel camera?
No, we were.
Okay. Did you run a belt recorder?
No. To my knowledge, no.
You testified before the grand jury in this case, didn't you?
I don't recall.
Would it refresh your memory if you saw a transcript of the grand jury proceeding?
Possibly, but I don't recall going to grand jury at all.
And my question for you is,
How do you not?
would it refresh your memory
Really?
if you saw a
All going to a
transcript of
grand
who
jury?
testified at the grand jury?
What the?
Try. I don't know.
What?
This is bad.
May I approach?
She's not asking him because I mean, the only reason she would ask him is if she has a transcript of it. The only reason.
Absolutely.
That refreshes your memory.
He doesn't
as to
recall
whether or not
going to
you
the grand
testified at the
jury?
grand jury.
Seriously?
She isn't curious. She's impeaching him.
I've said this so many times, but they did not prep any of their goddamn witnesses this entire damn trial. I'm almost to the point of exhaustion where I'm just tired of them having awful preparation. Okay. You can take over for a minute. I need. Fuck me. I hope the elected DA gets thrown the fuck out of office. Because if this is the kind of talent that he has,
the elected DA threw this one under the bus and said, "Go try this loser. We have to do it." Is my guess.
I know, and I agree with you on that. But dear God, these are
This guy's credibility is toast. I know what color it is, but I never tested it and I didn't see it and I can't remember looking at it. That and this routine, no way.
I thought yesterday was a disaster, but this is actually worse. So, by the way, if you're in that jurisdiction, fire this freaking DA, please. Yeah.
Flabbergasted is a nice nice word for the
Does that refresh
situation.
your memory?
I still have no recollection of the jury, but I trust the transcript.
Well, and listen,
Yeah.
You agree with me that generally speaking,
She doesn't even know what question to ask.
in a more
God.
substantive case, like a homicide case, it's typically the lead case agent who testifies at grand jury. Do you agree with that?
I agree.
And you're the lead case agent in this case.
I agree.
Okay. Now, I understand that this was 2.5 years ago.
Yes.
So, and I want to be fair to you, and I mean that. So we can go through the transcript, or we can just break and you can review the audio recording of the grand jury, because obviously the audio recording is you could actually hear the sound of your own voice.
Sure.
So if you prefer to do that, I'm happy to do that. I don't want you to feel like I'm pushing a transcript in front of you that may not be accurate.
Sure. May
The
I
judge
ask-
allowed that?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever
No,
you'd like to do.
That's what the sidebar was about. I'm gathering.
No, I know, but
No, we
but
don't need
it's-
an explanation. We
right.
just want to take your testimony.
Sure.
I don't agree with the
So
judge's ruling
would you
if
like
that's
to
an
go
option.
ahead and move through the transcript with me, or do you think it would be better if we took a break and you could hear the audio? Sir.
We can go through the transcript together. I'm just letting you know that.
Oh my God, your own
I
fucking
have no
witness
issues with that.
fucking up
I'm just
your-
being honest with the court that
Try to
I
buy
physically
time.
do not remember appearing at grand jury.
I
That's-
understand.
That's all I'm saying.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard that.
And I don't want to beat you up for that.
Right.
I understand police officers are human beings. There's a lot of things that go on. They have a lot of different
She's
cases, and it's hard
desperately
to remember
trying
something
to
from
get
2.5
him
years
to
ago.
say, don't do the
Okay?
transcript.
So if at any point
Let's
we're
take
looking
a
at the
break,
transcript
listen
and
to
you
the
feel
audio.
like perhaps the transcript is incorrect, let me know and we can take a break and listen to the audio.
Very good.
Okay? Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Very good.
All right.
She's
I don't
trying
believe
to
that he
buy
doesn't
time.
remember.
Oh my God.
This is a high profile murder case. He remembers testifying to the grand jury. I don't believe him.
understand that you
I don't
probably
either.
are not going
He's
to
already
recall
dead.
the answer to this
Dead
question.
in the
but
water
I'm
in
just
terms
going
of
to ask it
credibility.
on the off chance that you do.
Of course.
Prior to giving your testimony before the grand jury, do you know if you met with anyone from your investigative team?
I'm sure that I met with Sergeant Griffin, obviously, because he was at
Somebody
the scene.
said that in the chat that
I do know
they're making a
that
record.
two other detectives.
A record for
did,
what?
After the fact, assist us with parts of the investigation. So if that answers your question,
You're sure that you met with Griffin?
yes.
Okay,
yes.
but it sounds like you're not sure whether you met with the other two.
No, I do know. I met with the other two in other aspects of it. So
Prior to
Prior
did you
to
meet
grand
with?
jury.
Okay, you met with them prior to grand jury.
yes,
Okay, great. Who are those detectives?
Sergeant Griffin, Detective Miller, and Detective Salas.
Were all of those detectives out at the scene?
No.
Okay. Was it only Griffin that was out at the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Aaron, you're absolutely right. Suddenly he remembers.
So I'm going to ask you this, and then we're going to have to go through a memory refreshment, and so I'm just going to leave that transcript in front of you.
Very good.
For your convenience. When you testified at the grand jury, of course, you testified about Mr. Cummings withholding his name and identification.
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Well, when you testified at grand jury, of course, you would have testified about the crime of concealing identity.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's, the allegation is that Mr. Cummings failed to provide his name and identifiers, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you testified before the grand jury, isn't it true that you said they Mirandized him, he refused to answer? And if you don't recall, I'll point you.
I trust you. If it's in here, if it's in the transcript, then I have no doubt that I testified to that in grand jury.
Okay, so as we have heard.
Oh my God. So
He
the
was
line to
not
the grand jury about
Mirandized,
Miranda.
and so I'm just wondering if he wasn't Mirandized, why would you have told the grand jury that he was?
Oh my God.
Under oath.
The case ends there.
Page 6. It's like the second sentence.
How can you actually? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. How can you possibly maintain a case after something like that? And why would the prosecution bring this guy in?
Well, he's the lead investigator.
Regarding this case.
But he didn't say anything useful.
I would have probably been provided that information, which subsequently changed. I wasn't at the scene that it was describing.
No, it didn't subsequently change.
Possibly was information.
Miranda is a previous action.
And then they changed their information later on.
Okay.
Yeah, your information changed, but his rights didn't. Sorry.
In preparation
Sorry
for this
everyone with
trial,
earbuds.
did you listen to the entire hour-and-a-half audio recording that was created by the belt recorder of Mr. Walker?
I don't believe I listened to the whole hour and a half.
Okay.
Because there was, as I recall, that I've listened, there's a lot of blank time, driving type stuff. They're just sitting there, not a lot of conversation.
Okay.
I'm guessing because of the cameraman, they took a break.
What is it? Is that
You indicated
dramatic
to the grand
effect?
jury
Okay.
there was no evidence at the scene or on Mr. Cummings that indicated that mace had been utilized. Is that right?
According to the transcript, yes.
Well, the evidence at the scene that mace was utilized is that there was a mace can in the decedent's hand. You agree that that is some evidence, correct?
That's evidence Mace was at the scene, yes.
And you wrote a fairly lengthy and detailed report in this case, didn't you?
I believe so.
I trust you reviewed your report
Yes,
before taking the witness stand?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you agree with me that in your report, you indicate that mace lasts about 45 minutes to an hour?
Yes. I mean, when you're sprayed on somebody before you can recover, like I testified, yes.
Okay, that's what's in your report. Do
Thank
you
you,
agree
Logan.
with me that
Appreciate
there
it.
were no police officers who arrived within that time frame?
I think that would be, well, from the first 911, yes. I believe that's a fair statement.
Okay. And what time was it that you initially had your person-to-person contact with Mr.
Welcome to
Cummings?
Law Talk with
I'm
John.
sorry, can you repeat that?
What time was it that you initially had your contact with Mr. Cummings?
If I can refer to the CAD for a more accurate, the CAD report.
Or do you recall at all, or do you need the CAD?
Drive time from the location to our office, so 45 minutes to an hour, so maybe around Again, I'm guessing 11 o'clock. It'll be in the CAD when the deputy arrived at the office.
Okay, but you're guessing around 11 o'clock.
That would be.
So every crime scene investigator didn't get there until 7 hours after the alleged
So do you agree with me that when you testified before the grand jury, you said, I was able to talk to Mr. Cummings for 6 hours and never smelled any of it?
If it's in the transcript, then yes, that's what I said.
I don't know. If
But what you didn't tell the grand
say
jury
it's
is
100%.
that you didn't have contact with Mr. Cummings until 5 or 6 hours
Thank you very much.
after the mace was used.
Correct.
Okay. And isn't it true that you testified before the grand jury? You said, we were able to recover his clothing that he did toss into the back of the truck after searching for.
That's what I was in the transcript, and that's what I said.
11 down at the bottom. But what you didn't tell the grand jury was Mr. Cummings actually brought the clothing that he had taken off to the attention of officers and asked the officers to please maintain it and put it in a bag. You didn't tell the grand jury that, did you?
No, I did not.
They're going to break the indictment. Mike, you are a prosecutor. You know this more than I do. I think they're going to break the indictment.
You made some statements to the grand jury about
if they
casings and trajectories.
they close with
and I'm
him.
at the bottom of page 12.
This is directed.
So let me ask you, isn't it true that you said to the grand jury, the pattern of the
They
shell
wouldn't be making
casings,
this line of
the
questioning
general
unless they thought they
trajectory
could break the
indicated
indictment.
that all the shots were shot forward towards Mr. Areola?
That I don't understand the another reason why they were making the.
Do you agree
this
that
line of
you made that
questioning.
statement?
My name's on it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You now understand
That's brutal.
that some of these shots went directly into the floor, correct?
I'm not a ballistics expert, but I
Oh, we believe you there. We
You've
believe
been
you
sitting in
there.
the courtroom and you
Yeah.
heard the testimony about the scorch marks and the muzzle having to be just maybe on the floor or a couple inches off the floor.
Mhm.
Okay. So do you agree that your testimony that you gave to the
That there
grand
wasn't
jury
sufficient
was
evidence.
I don't know what he's on
incorrect?
about, Nigel.
You know exactly what I mean.
at the time with the information I had, that is what I believe I testified here to. Again, I'm not a ballistics expert. I wasn't at the scene. I was going by photographs and information provided to me from Sergeant Griffin. So I can't say that things haven't changed between then and now.
Well, but the person who did the trajectory documentation at the scene was Agent Herrera, correct?
Correct.
And it sounds like you didn't talk to Agent Herrera before you went before the grand jury and gave your testimony about trajectory.
I don't recall if I did or didn't.
Okay.
Oh my God.
You indicated to the grand jury, and I'm in that same paragraph there. It did appear that Mr. Areola was trying to remove himself
And she's doing a
from
damn
the
fine job.
room and was not in an attacking position.
Correct.
Do you think that the evidence bears that out?
Yes.
Tell me how it looks that Mr. Areola was trying to remove himself from the room when he fell face forward.
I'll explain what I mean by
Completely
breaking the
away from the door.
indictment later. I don't want to interrupt this.
My opinion?
Well, I'm
Is what you're
asking,
asking?
what's the basis for the testimony that you gave the grand jury?
Based on the OMI report, based on the injuries to Mr. Areola.
Look at me, just taking directions from my chat.
Number of rounds. I believe he was, if I may, I believe he was turning to go out the door when he was shot and then fell. But I think momentum carried him to the position he was. It's a very small room. So my opinion is that
breaking indictment might be a local term.
Even though his body is not in a position where he's turning away from the shooter, if the shooter is in that corner where we talked about with Agent Herrera.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
It could be, and I believe it was. My opinion.
So is it your testimony that you believe that the findings from OMI support the conclusion that Mr. Areola was trying to remove himself from the room?
I believe he was trying to remove himself from the shooter, based on my opinion only.
But what you indicated was that part of what caused you to believe that was the OMI findings. So we've heard from OMI. What about that testimony caused you to say this to the grand jury?
The direction of travel from the wounds right to left in a downward fashion. That's what I believe. And to me, he had to be bent over to take those wounds.
Okay.
Isn't it true that you told the grand jury, tentatively, what we're believing is that Mr. Areola began to take fire from Mr. Cummings. He ducked, turned, and started to run towards the door, which that caused him to suffer the 2 fatal wounds he had and actually caused him to fall deceased to the ground. You stand by that?
Oh my God, that's 100% consistent.
The generalness of it at the time with the information we had, I believe a lot of that contributes to it.
Do you stand by it now? Do you stand by that statement?
I don't believe now, after learning everything about the scene, that he made the actual complete turn to the door.
So you don't believe anything you told the grand jury?
Injuries, I believe.
Okay, good to know.
Started that way.
All right, so the grand jury's broken.
Rounds on the trajectory where they did, and then landed.
F me, like, I swear to God. She's got him in a vice.
And isn't it true that you told the grand jury
Nobody
we're
told me
waiting
about
for
the
trajectory test results? And for counsel, that's kind of the middle of page 17. And you also said, let me complete your sentence. We're waiting for trajectory test results to come back, which takes an amount of time to get it right.
I'm sorry. We're still waiting for toxicology to come back.
We're waiting for trajectory test results.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you're the paragraph below me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
He can't even freaking read.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are those trajectory test results?
I presumed that the firearms division at the lab or
No, don't presume.
Agent Herrera would be conducting those, but apparently that wasn't done.
But isn't it true that they only do those things if the case agent requests it?
Not necessarily.
Oh, this is a great line of questioning, and it's
when they're processing the
devastating.
crime scene, if they determine that this is they determine that it's necessary, then they'll do it themselves.
Yes, sir, but you're the case agent. So
Correct.
if you wanted trajectory testing done, you
Correct.
could have made sure that it was done.
Yes, and I can't recall if I requested it or I didn't request it. I can't recall if I can't recall.
Did it happen or
Have
not?
you ever seen a piece of paper that indicates that you requested that?
No, I do not.
Do you have any recollection of talking to anyone and asking anyone to do that?
I don't have recollection of that.
Okay.
So it didn't happen because your investigation
You
was
told the grand jury,
BS.
I don't believe drugs or alcohol were relevant to the actual incident that occurred. Isn't that what you said? And it's the last sentence in that paragraph that started with, we're still waiting for toxicology to come back.
Yes.
Do you stand by that statement?
At the time of this transcript, yes.
And how about now?
Verbally, yes. Angry.
I would say yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that is not a good answer. She's got evidence to the contrary. I
Now,
guarantee you.
the decedent's personal effects, what's in their pockets and stuff like that, that all goes to OMI, correct? With the body.
Normally it does.
And that's what happened in this case, right? Okay. So when do you get those items back from OMI?
The time frame varies. Whenever their evidence group sends it back to us.
Do you know when you got them back in this case?
I don't have an exact date unless I can refresh.
Do
with
you
my
have the
report.
items here in this bag or in this box?
From OMI?
Yeah, the personal effects.
I believe I have a wallet. I believe there was a wallet that you requested.
Would looking at that envelope give you any idea?
Probably.
All right.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to object this to relevance. Can we approach?
Oh, this is devastating.
It's devastating, and he didn't do anything on direct.
No, he did not.
So let's offer a witness that doesn't move the ball for our case at all and just destroys themselves, just generally on cross.
Why? But that's been their modus operandi. That's been their entire way of proceeding. It's been weird to me because they've done absolutely nothing to prove their case. It's Friday. You've got between 1 o'clock and 5. You got 4 hours to prove your case. My thought was that the prosecution would rest by the end of the day.
They might have more. I mean, they don't have enough to make the case yet.
I'm not there. As a matter of law, I'm not there.
If I'm sitting on the bench, if they stop now, unless they come up with something, they could. There might be more witnesses and more evidence that they haven't rested.
Mike,
but if they,
for the love
if they
of
rested
God,
now,
you
I would
see-
I'd say this is over. The jury doesn't get to see this. You haven't made the case. It's a matter of law. Sorry.
Mike, for the love of God, stop giving them ways out. You've been doing it for 3 days. I'm done at this point.
You're done?
If you don't, unless they literally come up with a signed confession, I got
Even if
nothing.
they had something awesome, but why I can't explain this. Let's say you have a great confession or a videotape or something
And even
awesome.
that's not
Maybe they do.
necessarily gonna do it.
Whatever. Why would you proceed it with this 3 days of just crap?
That's what I've been saying for the last 3 days, Mike.
So you're You're not confident they're going to come up with it, are you?
I don't think they have anything in their revolver. I think they've got nothing.
So there you have it.
That's my opinion.
You know, somebody asked a good question in the chat.
Lieutenant,
Is this
you
a
and I had a
PD or a
discussion
private attorney?
yesterday
I don't
and we
know.
went through some of Mr. Ariola's
Private
personal
attorney.
effects. You recall that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what
We
I'm
covered
after.
that
Are
yesterday.
they here in this box?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think they're used to a lot of private attorneys that are actually decent at what they do.
Mm.
And by the way, I don't think that the private attorney is fantastic, but it's a good fact pattern.
I'm guessing it's good.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think she's good.
I don't think there's an issue there.
You're right. You look a lot better when you have the facts on your side. That there's no doubt about it.
I think they both need to be entered. They haven't been entered as evidence yet.
But again, I don't have a problem. Like I don't have an ethical problem with the prosecution.
Can you go ahead and look at,
I
at
do a
the
little
same
bit,
items
but-
that you and I looked at yesterday?
Yeah, if the prosecutor was in on it, that's another kettle of fish.
Yeah, but that's going to be almost impossible to prove.
Did you have an opportunity to look at those?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see two separate folded up pieces of white paper?
Yes, ma'am.
And what else is in that bag?
There is a. May I open it or just?
Can you just look
Sure.
and tell us? I mean,
Looks like the handyman tool, currency, some change, a chapstick, a washer.
so I'm going to stop you there. So the only things that has evidentiary value from my perspective are the two pieces of paper. Do you want us just to put this whole bag into evidence, Judge, or do you want us to separate it out?
Just separate it out.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay, great.
I like this judge. I think he's been doing a good job.
Yep. He sure is.
It's not helping. And remember, everyone, the defense hasn't even had a chance to put on their case.
Awkward question. I don't know if this is paper or lint. Do you want it or not? Seriously, I really. That's all you want. Okay. I just wanted to double check.
Well, that looks great in front of a jury. Fuck me. This is a total difference between the Brooks trial, where the witnesses were actually really good.
Mm-hmm. Ireland in the house. Love it. Martin Downs.
Hello.
Hello to John.
My family is from Mayo and Cork. A little bit of blood from Waterford, but I am an O'Brien. It's a pleasure to see you.
Sure.
Sláinte.
Do you agree with me that those white folded up pieces of paper, that it is typical of the way that cocaine or other powdered drugs are packaged?
I have seen them packaged in a similar manner.
And when did you receive that information from OMI, if you can tell?
I'm not sure why the drugs
This was
necessarily
tagged
matter.
into evidence on 5/7
I'm thinking
of
they're setting up.
2020. So it would be within a week or two of that I received it from OMI.
Okay. Did you ever look at it?
The papers?
Yeah, any of that stuff, any of the personal effects that you got, did you look at that stuff?
No. I mean, let me rephrase. It was listed. I tried my best not to open anything from OMI to tag straight in, especially personal effects. And so I glanced to it to confirm that was in there, which is 2 pieces of paper.
Why wouldn't you have looked at the personal effects to see if they were relevant to the case in any way?
Because they're incompetent in investigating a homicide.
Examine them or separate them out or anything like that.
Okay.
We established this over the course of 3 days.
Okay, and you didn't indicate in your report that there was anything that looked like drug packaging?
No.
Okay. Permission to publish, I can do it on the Elmo, or I can hand it to the jurors.
Show it here. You haven't moved for admission yet.
Oh, thank you. Move for the admission of Defendant's Exhibit O.
Elmo, we want to see it.
They're going to give it to Tickle B. Elmo, and they're going to throw it at the jury and call it a day. Oh, God. Seriously, obviously I cannot recommend homicide, but if I were ever to do it, it would be in this county in New Mexico. So take that for what it is.
Yes, it's ready.
Maybe
I don't know, for whatever reason, I would ever go to New Mexico other than that. It's the middle of goddamn nowhere.
Oh, I want to go to Taos right now. Well, as soon as the snow flies, I want to go to Taos.
Do you agree with me that the way that paper is folded numerous times in that fashion
Illinois people are
is
weird.
typical of packaging for illicit powder narcotics?
It could be.
You've seen that in your career?
Yes, I have.
All right. And do you agree with me that there was also a straw on Mr. Ariola's person?
I'm not sure if it was a straw or a pen with the stuff taken out. It was white and circular.
No, your credibility shot again.
It's white circular. It's a straw.
Oh my God.
He was a cokehead. He had coke in his system. I know what color a liquid inside a can is, but I can't piece together this Coke envelope, Coke straw, and folded paper.
Yeah, your credibility shot. It's been shot many times.
Well played, Melanie. Well played.
Yes, ma'am, I have it.
You had to be here earlier.
They don't use any sort of gloves for this.
Let's go ahead and mark that as definitive.
While we're, handling. Oh God Almighty!
I'm all for it.
Your Honor, I'll move for the admission of Defendant's Exhibit P.
Be admitted.
You see that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you agree with me that what this is a big pen that has the top, the center, and the end removed?
Correct.
And is this something that can be used to snort cocaine?
Can be, yes.
And based on your investigation, Mr. Areola was known to carry mace.
Yes.
Let me just review my notes. One moment. So you indicated to Mr. Cummings that you were going to test the swabs that you took of his face and hands for mace, right? Or for chemicals.
For chemicals, yes.
Did you do that?
I did send him to the forensics lab in Santa Fe.
Right, but you didn't request that they be tested for chemicals.
I have nothing on paper that says I did. I don't recall if I had a phone conversation or not with them about that. I don't recall that part, but there's nothing in my reports that say I did.
Well, and you've heard from
Nothing in her reports on
the
anything
folks
to
at the
say it
lab,
didn't at all.
and they testified that's not even anything they're capable of doing.
Correct.
So did you take any steps to get the swabs or the shirt tested as you told Mr. Cummings you would?
No.
By the way, taking apart a pen takes about 2 seconds. I just did it. I'm not saying do it for legal purposes. I'm just telling you, taking apart a pen is not.
You were asked on direct examination if you've ever requested testing for an ejection pattern, right?
Yes.
Well, the state lab has a ballistics unit, right?
I believe so.
Did you ask the ballistics unit at the state lab to do any testing for you?
I didn't even know they had a specific ballistics lab. It was all firearms is what I knew of to send them up for firearms.
Oh my
testing.
God.
My
Why would you
experience
put him on the
with when
stand?
I've seen people do the ballistic analysis as far as like trajectory and stuff.
Do they literally have no one else?
In my opinion, done at the scene. I didn't know they had a specific ballistic lab.
Did you ever call up to the state lab and say, what kind of testing
You had a
can
state
you guys
officer
do
on
for
the
me?
scene
I don't.
that you
recall if
literally
I did or
just
not.
had yesterday and this morning.
One moment.
Okay, I'm assuming that's a yes. Okay.
Okay, well, you know what? How in goddamn.
Just for completeness,
Mhm.
did Mr. Areola also have a marijuana pipe on his person?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's go ahead and move that into evidence.
Yeah, that's fine. Goddamn, goosebump. This guy's a lieutenant.
And let me just ask you, is that a typical looking marijuana pipe?
It also depends on your
Well,
opposition
haven't
and
you
the
seen
facts.
pictures of it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's just a regular marijuana pipe, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not going to have you open it
Okay.
and go
Yeah.
through all that. We're just going to mark it as Defendant's
I
Exhibit
agree.
Q, and I'll move for its admission.
Counsel, can we agree that it was just the same pipe?
This is another witness, though. That's an absolute disaster for the
It will be
prosecution.
admitted.
Like, why do they keep bringing them? I don't get it.
I don't want someone to speculate that there are two pipes.
Oh, God.
And as a point of clarification, Mr. Areola was not the only one of the two folks involved in this altercation who apparently used marijuana. Is that correct?
Could you rephrase it? Are you talking
Was
about?
there any evidence discovered that Mr. Cummings also used marijuana?
If I could refresh my report, but I don't believe
It's
so.
okay.
Thank you.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Walker.
How did that help the prosecution in any way whatsoever?
I don't know what they established.
I just have a couple of follow-up questions for you, sir. So, and I'm going to start right where Ms. Morrissey left off. We talked a lot about your grand jury testimony and the transcript. I
That's not where
believe
she
one of the
left
grand
off, you
jurors
idiot.
asked you, do you know whether there was drugs or alcohol involved in this? And your response was, Mr. Cummings, we did recover some marijuana in his unit. Do you remember that?
I don't recall it.
You're
but in the
introducing
transcript,
grand
I'll
jury
agree that I
questions?
responded that way.
Now,
Okay.
grand jury proceedings are different than a trial. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's a finding of probable cause.
Yes.
And
Righto,
the
I
people
get
who
it.
are the grand jurors get to ask you questions, right?
Correct.
And they can ask pretty much on anything so long as they're curious and it's relevant to the case.
Correct.
Okay, so you testified at the grand jury on March 19th, 2020.
Okay.
Okay, pretty soon after the homicide.
Correct.
Would it surprise you that Agent Herrera didn't complete his report until April 7th, 2020?
No, that doesn't surprise me.
So you wouldn't have had any of his trajectory stuff or his report or anything that he did on scene?
Correct.
You wouldn't have had OMI at that point either?
I really doubt it. Normally they'll send
So we
a
called a
report
grand
with
jury
evidence.
before.
Sometimes they send it separately.
Before we had any of
I
the
doubt
evidence.
I would have had the OMI report by grand jury.
Okay, and you testified on cross-examination, which memory is a big part of testifying, right? This case is over 2
Correct.
years old. You
Correct.
testified that you physically do not remember testifying at the grand jury.
Correct.
Why is that?
Excuse me. In sorry, July 2021, I was in a coma for 9 days, and because of that, I have some memory issues. Long term, some short term. I apologize.
This is your witness.
So it's not that you don't remember testifying at the grand jury, you just physically don't have that memory anymore.
Oh my God.
Correct.
You might not want to put him in that position then.
Also,
I don't know, Mike. You're the one that has the
about the grand
prosecutorial
jury
background,
testimony
but
about
this seems
why you
thoroughly
believe
fucked up.
mace was not used. Let me just
I-
find that page.
I wouldn't call the guy.
What's the strategy?
I'd say, can I use other investigators to do this because that cross is, and she brings it out. Well, I would do
Believe
it
that
as the
mace was
defense
not at
attorney,
all
but
sprayed because it was pointing backwards at the decedent.
Objection, leading, and foundation.
Just lay a foundation for it. I'll allow the question, but lay the foundation for it.
okay, if that's the case, I do believe that he didn't remember. But now
On
everything regarding the
cross-examination, you were
investigation is
asked
in
about your
question.
grand jury testimony, and that
Everything
you
he ever
testified
said is in
to the
question.
grand jury that you do not believe that the mace was ever used. Is that correct?
Objection, that is not the testimony that.
This is where you start objecting, and I absolutely agree with the defense on this.
Some of his testimony regarding the mace, but that statement didn't come out.
Because they elicited
I disagree. I believe it.
that background.
Yep.
see if you find that in that grand jury testimony.
The defense could not have done that themselves. However, now that it's out on the table, everything he says is in question and is objectionable.
Yep.
Potentially. Tell me if I'm wrong, Mike. You're a
Yep.
more experienced attorney than I.
No, absolutely. It calls everything into into question.
So
I mean, I
at page
empathize
10,
with his medical
the very
condition, but it
first
it destroys his testimony.
paragraph,
Yeah.
you were asked on cross-examination whether or not you testified there was no evidence at the scene or on Mr. Cummings that mace had been utilized. And the question was, do you still believe that statement?
I hate this proving a negative bullshit.
Say that one more time, please.
I was losing
Sorry,
it
it's kind of
yesterday on that.
convoluted. So you were asked on cross-examination whether or not you still believe that the mace had not been utilized.
Who cares?
Why do you believe that?
There's a number of different factors in it. Typically when mace is sprayed, it remains in a room, it remains on clothing, it remains on people, it remains in the air, it remains, there's parts of it you
Hey,
can't
maybe on the
just-
gun that you
it's
didn't
just not
test.
poof and it goes away.
Idiot.
It lingers at least in some parts, and no one
Hey,
at
Ben.
the scene, even though there had been a great amount of time, I concede that there had been time between. There would have been an indicator somewhere of the odor. If there was color dye, which I believe there was, there would have been some remnants of that somewhere. But just the mere fact
Speculation.
there would have been some indication of mace discharge. Someone with all the people going through, it would have been evident to them and they would have reported it to me.
What was the only piece of evidence that mace was used? Was it Mr. Cummings' statement?
Yes.
Other than,
Was
the
there any
mace jar in
corroborating
his
evidence that
hand.
mace was used?
What the?
No corroborating evidence.
You can't
What?
remember
On
testifying in front of a grand jury
You were asked,
after the
and
incident.
this was on page 12 of the grand jury transcript, you were asked about
let me
your
get-
testimony during the grand jury, why you believe that Mr. Ariola was turning to leave the room.
Yes.
So tell me, well, your
Yeah, we
testimony
lost
was,
Ben
tell me
already.
as Mr. Ariola was trying to remove himself from the room, why do you think he was trying to remove himself from the room?
I believe because
Ben, I
the
feel
defendant
insulted that you
was-
left because I
had a
was.
rifle on him and began actively shooting. Is why he tried to leave the room.
Right, but what makes you, with the physical evidence of where Mr. Ariola's body was positioned, believe that he was trying to leave the room?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Okay.
That's a pretty straightforward
So on
question.
cross-examination, you were asked about all the shots were shot forward toward Mr. Ariola, and Morrissey asked you why you believed he was trying to leave the room if you
Absolutely.
did not have the OMI.
That would be your
stuff
best
and you didn't
bet.
have any of the other stuff.
There's no
Can
rehab
you
here.
stand up and show the jury
It
how
is.
you believe Mr. Ariola
He can't
was
do it.
shot?
I'll do my best.
Thank you, sir.
There is no rehab here. Let him go.
There we are.
Oh,
That's
Ben.
better.
This is the lead investigator who just testified. He doesn't remember testifying at the grand jury, and the reason why is because he was in a coma for a long period in between.
Wait. Since the time he testified at the grand jury until today,
Right.
he was in a coma.
Because on cross, she said, "Do you remember testifying at grand jury?" He said, "No, I don't."
He didn't bother to read the transcript or anything?
So then they redirect. No, yeah, they didn't prep him either. Then they redirect him, and he said, "I was in a coma
Let
for a
me
long
ask
time. I
this in a
can't remember
different way,
anything."
sir.
I mean, it's sad.
Can you verbally tell us how you believe Mr. Ariola
That's
was shot?
the lead investigator.
No,
on the case.
objection.
I believe as he entered the room where your momentum's traveling
Objection.
forward,
Speculation. F
the
you.
defendant began to shoot. I believe the first thing most people do when you hear a gunshot is duck, which would put him in a bent over position as he's stopping and trying to turn. And that's when he takes the lethal rounds. And even the one that didn't go in him, the one in the back for his clothing, his momentum still slightly going one direction as he's turning, and then he just collapses down. Based on
Oh my God, that
experience
literally
with
proves the
OMI,
defense.
people and items fall in weird ways. And
This is all speculation.
Have no
All of
It
it.
is, but
it's not set in physics.
Because of momentum.
Momentum,
delete
all kinds of other factors. And
Here's our wacky theory that we haven't established. Okay.
It could have been, we don't know what exactly momentum-wise, physics-wise happened in that brew.
Now, you were asked on cross-examination, Lieutenant Tomlinson, whether or not Mr. Audiola was known to carry mace.
Yes.
Was he known to carry mace with a die?
Yep, appears that way.
I was told he was.
No further questions, Your Honor.
I don't necessarily agree with you, Mike, on this one. I think it actually helps the defense case to build a story. And they're going to have the weekend to do that.
Yeah, leave everything there.
State, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, this
Yeah.
rests.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the state has rested the case in chief. What we're going to do now, we're going to recess for the day and for the week. But let me read you that.
They just
recess
rested.
instruction that
Yep.
I read you at the
That's what I
beginning
thought
of
was going to
the
happen
case, and
tonight
I'll give
anyway.
you, scheduling information in a second.
I can't believe they just rested.
No, I'm not.
Are you kidding?
They don't have the magic evidence I've been holding out for.
I told you there wasn't going to be one.
Do not discuss this case with other jurors or with any.
Where You're waiting is the for your- motion?
Anyone to discuss.
Motion for
why-
acquittal right now.
Why wouldn't you
Right.
do the
Jurors
motion
must
for a
decide this
directed
case
verdict
with-
right now?
on the evidence
You have an
presented
hour.
within the four walls of this courtroom. This means that
Well, they
during
still
the
can.
trial,
You would do
must
that
not conduct any independent research.
outside the presence of the
outside
jury.
The matters in the case
Fair.
and the individuals or corporations involved in the case. In other words, you should not consult dictionaries.
They
or
did not
reference
establish their
materials,
burden
search
as far
the
as I'm
internet,
concerned.
websites, blogs, or use any other electronic tool to obtain information about this case.
Well, then the
or help
system
you
works.
decide the case. Do not try to find out information
might be
from
done
any
right
source
now.
outside the
Who
confines of
knows?
this courtroom. Until you retire to deliberate, you may not discuss this case with anyone, even your fellow jurors. After you retire to deliberate, you may begin discussing the case with your fellow jurors, but you cannot discuss the case with anyone else until you have returned a verdict and the case is at an end. I know that many of you use cell phones.
Did the
the
defense rest
internet,
as
and
well?
other tools of technology. You also must not.
Why is he
talk
giving
to
these
anyone about this
instructions?
Case or use these tools to communicate
going on?
electronically with
It's just a
anyone about the case.
non-communication
This includes your
argument.
family and friends.
Or
You may
instruction.
not communicate with anyone about the case on your cell phone or any other device. You can
I would
access
think
the
so.
Internet through email, text messaging.
Of course they will. They
on
always
Twitter,
will. It's always
through
pro
any
forma.
blog or website, through any internet.
It's always
chat room,
denied.
or by way of
but
any other social
This one
networking website.
might
such as
be
Facebook.
granted.
During your deliberations,
I
you
even
must
asked
not
for it in
communicate
a
with or provide
trial I
any
did a
information to
few
anyone
months ago.
by any means about the case. You may not use any electronic device or media such as a telephone, cell phone, or any other device that can access the internet, any internet service.
They sure
any
do.
text or instant messaging
Pretty
service,
goddamn good.
or
I was
any
totally
internet
teased
chat
by the
room, or
by the
way of
prosecution
any
here.
Other social networking websites such as Facebook, to communicate to anyone any information about this case, or to conduct any research about this case until I accept your verdict.
I think that you
Avoid
would give
any
this
publicity
instruction
this
either
case may
way.
receive.
So
And
I don't
know
know
that
if it
some
necessarily
out there.
implies
I'll
how
avoid
he
it
would
at all
respond to the
Do
direct
not read,
verdict,
listen to, or watch any news accounts of this trial.
but
Do
it's
not express
not
any opinion
looking
about this
like
case
a
or form
directed
any
verdict
fixed
is
opinion
in
until
his
the case
mind.
is finally submitted to you for your decision.
June.
Now, we were.
I see what you did there.
This case Monday at 9 o'clock. Be here by 8:45. Well, let me remind you, the clock changes over this weekend on Sunday. I think we go back to standard time. So I think
Is
get to
this-
sleep an extra hour.
Is this weekend?
So 9
Daylight
o'clock
savings
Yes.
Monday. On Tuesday,
Hmm.
if we're still going,
I don't pay
I
attention
have
to
a
that sort of
feeling,
thing.
this case is starting to sort of wrap up. But on Tuesday, if we have not concluded on Tuesday, we will recess early, like 2 hours, because people are entitled to go vote. And I'll give you the same courtesy they give the state employees, which is 2 hours for voting. So on
Oh,
Tuesday,
good
we would
Lord.
leave at 3
To
right?
vote.
See where we're at that point. But for now, we'll be in recess. Be here on Monday at 8:45. All right. We'll be in recess until then.
Wait, he's not going to let them do the motion? What the?
Well,
Or
we
we're
can
not
still
going
bring
to
it up
see
on Monday.
It's 3:15 in the afternoon.
There's no reason
It's
to
a-
come back Monday.
It's a
There's no-
Friday.
I
What
would be
attorney
jumping
works
up and
past 3
down. I would
o'clock on a
say,
Friday.
It's 3:15 in the afternoon. Why are we dragging
Exactly.
people back in at 8:45 on a Monday to
Because
try
no attorney
and
works past noon on Friday.
and he's already talking
How long
about
have you been practicing law?
doing a short day on Tuesday for voting.
Ben, honestly,
Oh, dear.
God's green earth. That to me says he's going to deny the directed verdict.
I'm just waiting to see if they pull the camera back down and do a motion right now.
We need
You guys ready?
What are
Maybe.
they ready for?
Take 5 minutes. We'll go from there.
Oh, we might. Okay, maybe.
Oh, here we go.
On.
Here we go.
We're going to light this back up. Here we go.
Thank God, because if they did not do the DV motion today, I would be thoroughly displeased.
I would literally, if I'm defense here, I'd be like, they haven't proved the case, but Judge, let's do it now. Why are we bringing people back on Monday? If you're going to grant my motion, they don't need to come back.
And if you're not, and you decided that everyone needs to come back, then I have other alternative mechanisms.
And you would want to make the motion fast because the jury will leave, but you'd want to dismiss them.
Look, I haven't been watching this whole thing, but I mean, how realistic is it to get a directed verdict? Because judges are
Very
loath
realistic.
to do that. I mean, they hate doing that.
There's a
They want to
reason
send it to a jury. I mean, they want to send it to a jury.
I think the motion should be granted if it's made. I agree that it probably won't because judges hate it and they want to leave it in the hands of the jury. But it is not. It's not just a matter of course, like you often see. It is a legitimate motion to be made right now.
I think that the judge has already decided he's not going to grant it because
They
he
might.
released
They
the
may
jury.
know that. Some of that may have already occurred in sidebars and stuff, so they might know what the situation is.
We might not get anything anyway, so this might be a waste of time. But yeah, I think the judge already made his decision.
Wow. Well, alrighty then. Ben, do you have anything you need to tell us? I was just wondering.
Well, you know, I did have a nice lunch with Alex Falcone of our Nevada
I just
judges
lost you. Oh, there you are.
today.
You're back.
So, I'm here. Can you hear me? I said, yeah, I just had a nice lunch with Alex Falcone of our Nevada judges.
I saw him.
So, yeah.
Your
we
little
said
Ben
hi.
Bateman thing popped on, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not Ben. That's Alex. I know both of you guys.
So, yeah, I don't have any announcements yet, but there might be some forthcoming.
We got a bunch of music all of a sudden.
What was that there?
That was the stream which I left on and started playing stuff.
Like an ad or some shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I might have an announcement. Not today, but maybe
Not
soon.
today.
Actually, I'm gonna
All
ask you,
right.
but maybe hypothetically, if I was to start a channel, we should ask your chat, like, what would be a good name? I'd like to turn it over to them, see what they think
We already had a YouTube naming
What was it?
session.
Oh, you did?
Names for another channel. Names for Ben's channel. Let's hear it. Ben's Law Bowl. Come on, you guys. I want some naked sandwich. Ben's naked sandwich.
Wow, yeah, these are good. I like
I
it.
don't know. You either got to do a pun off of Bates or Batman. That's my opinion.
Oh gosh, it was a mistake to turn it over to.
Yeah, you don't want to set my chat loose on this.
Yeah, what was I thinking? This is like it's my first time here. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Where is it? We got.
Well, maybe it'll generate some super chats for you. Maitland's thruple.
The maintenance symbol. And just
I love it. I love it.
By the way, Mike, have you seen the new logo that I've been using?
I have. It looks awesome. It looks awesome.
I have absolute respect for the person. It's so cool. People come out of the woodwork, Ben. I swear to God, to try and help you out. And so somebody
really
updated
do.
my logo. It's so cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And people already know you. So when you do that, it's obviously you got to come on and tell us.
Of course I will.
Don't worry.
I just need a clever name. Ooh, hashtag free Ben. I like that.
Better than Ginger
Ben. Free Ben's good. All right, y'all. It's Friday. Everyone go have some fun. Go do some drinking or something.
Have a good night, folks.
I guess we're back on Monday.
I guess we're back Monday. I
Have a
can't
good one,
believe
boys.
they did not let them do
Knights of Knee.
Behave yourselves.
I'll survive.
Oh dear.
See ya.